Okay, cool. Intro. Should we go? Should we go around? I can kick it off. I'm Rob. I'm from Insight Data Science. Focused mainly on infrastructure stuff.
Hey, yeah, I'm Shane from Pocket Figment. We are focused on infrastructure too, kind of a different angle on it. We're creating a. I'm actually getting feedback from someone. I'm not sure. I'm getting my own voice back at me, but yeah, we're creating a second layer solution that allows citizen nodes and dApps to interact with each other in a decentralized way. So, any current dApps or wallets that are utilizing Icon wouldn't need to have a dedicated citizen node to service that dApp, but instead they would have a whole pool of nodes that they could use to uh, allow their dApps to interface with the Icon network. So, anyways, that's kind of our main thing. We got a couple other side projects we're also doing with Icon. That's a majority.
Shane, very nice to meet you finally. And
Indeed,
not in person, but close enough, right?
that's right. Indeed.
So yeah, we definitely have a number of things to talk about that I kind of want to tee up for after. Anybody else? Olya?
Sorry, I have problem with my connection.
It's all good. We can hear you. Do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Oh, yes. I'm from Everstake and I launch and all infrastructure. You can ask some question if you want.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, this is really just a forum to talk about questions. So whatever comes up, yeah, jump in or ask.
I think actually we need to wait for some stable network because testing this it's very hard.
Yeah, testing's been difficult. We'll get into that. I kind of want to ask some questions about where we're at with testing it later. Anybody else see somebody with NR on their name? You want to introduce yourself? Or not? We can just cruise right ahead. There's not many people here, so I don't think we need to go over the community guidelines, basic stuff. Shane, you and I have some stuff to talk about. Let's dive into some docs and start just parsing it out.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. So how do you want to start with this? I mean, I checked out your website. I think it's great. Would love to contribute to it. I think that it's definitely nicer looking than the docs that we set up. Just trying to find it right now. And we're happy to contribute with that. It really breaks down to what categories people are going to start to break off, because there's so much stuff to document right now that I think we need to start taking a divide and conquer sort of approach with this.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you. And just to give a little bit of background, I've been talking with Rob here over the past week or so, and we've been discussing how we can make kind of streamline documents and allow them to all be in one place for community members to easily find. Because right now, how it is it's kind of whatever PREP's tutorial they happen to land upon is how they're it's how they're starting to find things that they need to at least for the community right now with staking and things of that nature. So what Rob and I have been talking about is actually using prep.community as a kind of just as a hub where any PREP could actually submit documents, tutorials that they make, guides that they make. This would also be where guides and tutorials or documentation for dApps could just be easily hosted, and everyone would be able to manage their own all of their own documents through this. And one thing that Rob is very passionate about, which he's done with his work already, is actually allowing documents to be stored on GitHub and then in Markdown, and then having those GitHub repositories then automatically be updated if a PREP updates some kind of documentation. And that's a really great system to have, because ideally you could just have a repo where once you update it, it automatically gets updated elsewhere, versus having kind of like a Medium article where you have a tutorial or something, but it's only found on Medium, and people will only find it if they if it's shared in chat somewhere, or if they land on a PREP's website or something like that. So we've been talking about kind of bringing these resources together, putting it all on kind of like an open platform where anyone can contribute. And that's kind of how we've been structuring prep.community to accommodate these kind of initiatives where Rob's passionate about documentation and streamlining and automating it. So give him a platform that he can easily just take and run with it. And so far, it seems like it's going to be a pretty cool fit where all the work that he's already done is going to just be able to be immediately imported into a really easy to access, user-friendly setup that he wouldn't have to worry about. But then also other PREPs would be able to use their Telegram account to do the same thing. So that's kind of where we're at and what we've been discussing. And that's why I'm excited to be on this call to see, what we can do here to just streamline all of this. One of the main things we also want to do is allow PREPs to have complete ownership of any documents or anything that they submit, and also have it be able to be branded for them. So, if a PREP creates a tutorial on staking or on a citizen node or what have you, we can actually brand that specific document to that PREP. So this is a way that PREPs can still have people find out who they are and see a little bit of their mission every time someone interacts with something that they've submitted. So it's a way to kind of allow PREPs to still promote, but in a way that isn't as scattered as it is now.
Uh-oh, Shane, I think we just sort of lost you.
Oh, can you hear me?
You got really quiet for a second.
Okay. Yeah, that might have just been fluke. And there we go. Okay.
Ooh,
Yeah, better.
now we can't. You there?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
You just got a little bit more distant, but go ahead.
Here, let me try one more thing. All right, is that better?
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, okay, perfect. Anyway, so that's why I'm excited to be on this call to see where we where we can go with this.
Yeah, so we could hear you perfectly right up until the end. So I don't know what just happened, but
okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and switch out my headset.
Yeah, that's okay, and I can just sort of take over from there because you framed it all perfectly. That's all the motivations right there, and I really like what you guys have done with putting it together with WordPress as well. I personally use a documentation style called Sphinx. It is pretty common for people who are writing technical docs for code. There's a couple features in it that I don't think are going to integrate too well with WordPress. Specifically, there's Sphinx does a really good job of taking inline code comments and rendering them into API documentation so that you can drill into specifically how you access various aspects of APIs and different code. I think that's sort of where we draw the line between, like, that's one place we sort of draw the line between what is best rendered in sort of a style of documentation like I have with Sphinx versus WordPress. That being said, I think basically everything else should be like sort of ported over that is of good quality that should be shared, and like sort of the PREP community is more of the front-facing solution that we sort of we put out some of the best docs that we got and sort of consolidate them into one place. So like one of the things that I got sort of nerdy about this, I'm not gonna lie. I was originally I built this on a continuous integration pipeline that runs on a job every single night and pulls docs from a lot of different sources. And it runs by, like, if I put another repo in this meta directory right here, these are all different repos right here that all get sort of pulled together every night or every single time I make a commit to this directory. It pulls all these different directories together and then stitches them together within here. So in docs, for instance, in infrastructure, let's see here, where's the right one? Well, this is the public version, so I don't really need to show how it works. The point is it does work, but I think that what you've done is better, because what you do is you just need to, the person who submits the docs that are ready to publish on your site, all they need to do is give a exact URL to the specific markdown document. So for instance, in here, if we wanted to give you these docs right here for you to publish with and then render with Markdown, we would just give you specifically this URL, and it's a raw GitHub user content URL, and then you can just render that directly. And so one of the drawbacks of my design is that I have to run this on a schedule, like every night or every couple hours or something like that, for it to be able to pick up changes from other docs. And that's, I don't know if that's really the right way of doing things, because you can also, like, I can pull in that content as well by just stitching it together with a different structure. So I think I'm sort of I'm barking down the wrong tree a little bit by putting it with like this crazy CI pipeline and stuff like that I'm doing. But really, it's just like what I'm thinking that my docs could sort of serve is a staging area that then gets brought into your documentation, so that it's, you know, people have a little bit more freedom to sort of blast off whatever stuff they want, and we sort of know within the community that this is slightly rougher docs, this is sort of work in progress things, more notes and things that people just want to sort of get out there as like they're either working on something and they started to take notes on a topic. I can think of probably like realistically 10 or 20 topics that really need attention right now, that people should, as they're doing research, really just sort of putting down notes and stuff like that. And so I don't know if the PREP community is the right place to put like sort of rough notes and stuff like that, because it would also be, hopefully there's a lot of documentation generated out there. And so I think, you know, based on the way that you guys render the docs, it would be a burden for you guys to have to add maintain a whole bunch of links to docs that might change, right? People might move them around and really are going to be updated frequently, and some of the stuff are work in progress that we're not necessarily even trying to show to not necessarily to show to the community, but render in a nice way to say, hey, these are like the official docs, you know, or you know, real clean version of that. What do you think about that, Shane?
Yeah, well, I think all this can be easily manageable. So if we have, I guess let's call them draft docs or research docs, right? That aren't official documentation on things or official tutorials or guides. Then yeah, I mean, we could easily have a separate portal for that. So it doesn't all have to necessarily be everything that PREP, you know, doc community would do is only forward facing for the public community. It could also easily allow, because I mean that's a great thing of utilizing WordPress with this, is we just have a lot of scalability on what we can do with users and how we can allow users to have different portals, even you know, different access to different things. So you know, down the road, if someone wanted to create you know, a document that multiple PREPs could all submit to, right? So say it's a research document, we wanted multiple PREPs to all be able to find it easily to submit you know, their own contribution to. That ideally, you know, a website that is structured for that would be the best way to do that. Because right now we could spam it on Telegram, but again, that's Telegram, and it's just not an easy way to quickly find, you know, find documents, find information, find things of that nature, just because of how aggressive the feeds are, right? So
yeah, totally.
So that's where we just need some. It would be cool to have something that complements, you know, the sharing already on Telegram, but it can also serve as a, you know, kind of like a depot where people that are working on docs, you know, what have you, you know, could all contribute in a kind of a similar user interface. Because right now, just it's almost like, you know, just every user interface is completely different.
Yeah.
Where you have different websites or different platforms all being used. And yeah, it'd be cool to kind of bring that together. So
absolutely,
we can build out. And the great thing is, you know, a lot of this can be built out. You know, we are going to be kind of limited on how much we can build out the site, at least at the beginning, since the rewards have been, you know, pushed back a month. So once we get into the reward phase, this is exactly what we've already been planning on investing. I mean, we already have a lot of the structure already set up to just be able to start building out this kind of infrastructure where, you know, we can have completely unique portals to whatever is needed for the community, whatever, you know, could be useful to P-reps, and just quickly scale without having to go through a whole big process of each P-rep kind of trying to do their own solution.
Yeah. Totally agree. I got a number of things to sort of pick up from all of that. Where do I start? I just wanted to quickly show this one quick thing, because this is sort of a good example of what you can do with my style of documentation that you wouldn't be able to do with WordPress. And so all this stuff right here is rendered from code, and it's really easy to set this up. There's it's like it's called an auto doc module, and so this is the main reason people use Sphinx, because it sort of generates all this stuff for you, all lifting all of this documentation out of the code from inline comments and stuff like that. So anything like that, I need to figure this out, and how to sort of build it so that people in the community that do publish packages that they do want to get people to start using, that they don't need to, that people can find like a directory of all the different code resources and then the associated inline comments and stuff like that all in one place. Right now, it doesn't do that quite right, but I can figure that out, and I can make that a goal as far as like the style of docs that I do and everything like that. But for your stuff, you just need to have raw GitHub content. And so it doesn't really matter, like the inline comments are not a thing at all. And people just need to put stuff on GitHub or anywhere out there for that matter, and give you an endpoint that can pull down the markdown.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of what we had mentioned before is, you know, PeerUp.community doesn't have to host any, you know, really any of this. It could be hosted on GitHub. It could be hosted on your Sphinx site, right? And then just have a link so it can be easily found. And that's kind of the idea is none of this is everything has to be hosted on one platform, because obviously we're all going to have our own platforms that we're able to have, you know, custom capabilities with, and that's totally cool.
Yeah.
A lot of this and a lot of what our discussion is about just, okay, well, how do we bring this together in a user interface in a way that just makes it easily accessible outside of just happenstance finding it on Telegram or social media.
Yeah. So let's dive in then. How are we going to do this? How are we going to get people to start doing things for us? That's the real question, because I think that, you know, I don't know where my presentation is. I gotta find it real quick. There's so many things to document right now, and given that we're in an election period and everybody's trying to one up each other and everything like that, I think this is a good opportunity to try to lure people in to start contributing docs, saying, hey, you know, this is a community initiative. Everybody should join. If you're not, you know, contributing docs, you're not really part of the community or something. I don't know what I'm saying there, you know, but we could drive people into start doing stuff, really, given the situation, you know. And so it's really just a matter of starting to try to divide and conquer a little bit. I think the first thing that you're mentioning right there is the main theme that we're trying to address, is that the doc sprawl is really just the issue. Just docs all over well, there's not really docs all over the place right now. There's just certain teams are doing docs, and there's a few guides here and there. But first things first is we need to get a like a directory of different resources, be it technical or non-technical, and sort of just consolidate them into one place. So I mean, we should just start rattling the community. I mean, I guess the right way to say it is, how do you think the best way to get people, to motivate people to start to contribute docs? Like, should we turn this into a whole initiative? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we should. I know that we're still looking into the just the back end stuff still. We're still organizing and sorting through that. And again, because the rewards were pushed back, you know, that's definitely limiting how fast we can move on this. Totally. But yeah, we're looking into the back end stuff and figuring that out. So I get, for this call, I don't think it's necessary. I don't think we can really lay down a direct strategy yet. In my my philosophy, I think the best way for me to at least approach this is just, you know, create the best tool that, you know, seamlessly integrates with Telegram, seamlessly integrates with, you know, GitHub. And by creating the better tool, then it would make more sense for P-reps to want to be a part of it, because they get the recognition, they get the, again, any docs, anything that they submit, we can have branded to that P-rep. So this isn't about, you know, one P-rep, you know, or two P-reps, you know, controlling all this information. It's completely up to the P-reps, and anything that they contribute is part of, can actually be part of their marketing play and their and how they promote themselves. So, I mean, right now we've had P-rep.community be more or less branded to Pocket Figment, simply because we just needed to put content up, and so that, you know, so that was the lowest hanging fruit. But now, especially once we hit post-election, we're definitely going to be shifting things up to be about P-reps in general. And I actually have a background with building these kind of cross-community websites. I worked for BlockNet, and we were building out a huge initiative before the bear market completely took out all of our marketing funds, and they had to let go of all marketing personnel. So we had a large initiative where we were bringing in all sorts of different communities from completely different coins, and they're all contributing to kind of this idea of a cross-platform website that would allow them to integrate their social media, their content, and things like that into a place that would be able to serve cross-community projects that were, you know, built on BlockNet, if anyone's familiar how they're what they are. But regardless, so I really have a passion for creating cross-community tools and infrastructure. So that's kind of what the whole vision behind prep.community is being able to allow us to have cross-community, in this case right now, you know, have cross prep community, if you will, platform that people can just easily be a part of and get, you know, used to brand specifically to their marketing needs. But then, you know, ideally once Icon gets to interoperability, which is hopefully coming later this year, right now we're going to be able to start reaching more communities. And so at least prep.community is a way that hopefully we can actually scale to include features that bring in other communities to want to be a part of Icon.
Totally. So given the timeline of things, I think the best thing we can do right now is really just start planning for the content that's eventually going to get up there, because it's going to take a while to really even just get the right buckets of information that need to be posted and whatnot. So perhaps I'm planning on writing a Medium article to summarize the calls, and like from last night and today. And I think today is clear that like the main thing that we sort of need to just sort of get out to the community is this idea that we have all of these different subject matters that we need to have documentation on, and we need to start planning as a community what those buckets are, who's going to start to own what, and whatnot. And some of the stuff as well, it's not going to, I would hope that teams would be doing a lot of this on GitHub so that we can have collaboration through different PRs and whatnot into different people's ownership of docs and whatnot. So we can start to share it all, because we can't expect that each individual team is going to be the absolute expert in, firewalls or DDoS protection or whatever, At Insight, we have a lot of stuff to document on the infrastructure side of things, and we're not going to be able to get around to everything. So just starting to plan, I guess, is the main takeaway from this conversation, really, and starting to see what content needs to get up. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think kind of first steps is you and I will probably just keep working together to figure out a solution for kind of a lot of the work that you've already done, and using kind of your work as the guinea pig, right, if you will, to kind of building out this larger hub for information, and then and then I foresee, in the near future being able to then scale this to, offer it to other P-reps. And I like the idea of using GitHub, as you mentioned, because I also think there's a value there, kind of with ability to contribute. So you could actually have people, create issues or create, basically, be able to create issues and be able to comment and whatnot directly to the files themselves.
Absolutely.
And I think that just overall creates a more just a unity with open source projects in general, with how most open source projects are heavily managed and run via GitHub. And so I think we're kind of tapping into the proper community channel there. And a lot of these guys, the people that would be submitting, issues or something like that would, most likely be higher level or deeper understanding of the tech, and developers, but that by being on GitHub, we have easy access to all of them. So so I definitely love the idea of being able to have a lot of these docs on GitHub, which you can also track versioning and things of that nature. So there's a lot of benefits that come from that, and people could still completely create a doc, post it on Medium as well, to just allow it to see more public-facing eyes. I mean, the goal of this is to get more eyes on docs and to have people be able to easily discover docs. So if they wanted to create a Medium post, still absolutely, create a Medium post, submit it. But also having that GitHub side as well just makes a lot of sense, because if we want to do updates, there's version tracking, and then you have issues and things of that nature that just complement the open source and kind of community environment. So we can kind of tackle two birds with one stone. You create one resource, you can have it on GitHub, and you can have it on Medium, and kind of bring in both the dev side and the community side.
Yeah, it's really important that all these dots connect as well. And so I think one of the biggest things that we can do initially is just try to task some people with consolidating all of the different materials that are out there. I don't think that there's any Medium post directory. It doesn't even have to be technical. It's just, here's a list of all the different articles people have written about Icon, and just start to go from there. I think if we start consolidate, we should really just start with consolidating what is out there. And then we can, once we have that directory, we can start to lift out where the best content is that needs to start to either get reshifted at all to be able to conform to a format that's going to easily be rendered into your site. For instance, taking some good Markdown, get some good Medium article and converting it into Markdown or something like that. Yeah, this is going to be a big initiative. I think we need to figure out ways in which to light a fire under people's ass a little bit sooner than later on this, because it's going to take a while to figure this stuff out and get it right. And it's going to be an iterative process, you know.
Well, I think some of the fire is definitely going to come once rewards hit, because it's definitely hard to get fire when it's coming out of your own, where it's literally coming out of your own pocket and affecting you financially. So,
Right.
so I think a lot of this, we could get a lot more excitement with this once we kind of hit rewards. So at least on our end, on Pocket side, we're going to continue to work with you to kind of iron out what this flow could look like and make it as seamless and easy and intuitive as possible. And then once we hit reward phase, man, in my mind, we'll be able to scale a lot of features way quicker. And then we also P-reps that are super motivated to contribute to things like documentation. I know there have been a number of P-reps that in their proposals talk about providing resources and educational documentation and things of that nature. So so there's going to be a lot of P-reps that are going to be motivated to do that. But yeah, we haven't figured out a way that we can make all those new resources that are going to be coming from P-reps easily accessible. So that's at least why we're working on P-rep community the way that we are.
Right.
So once all this work starts getting produced, we have a way that the community can easily find it without having to dig through Telegram every time.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'll start trying to shake the community though, to try and see if we can recruit some people to champion some of these different topics. But we'll see what comes out of that. I think, regardless, if we just start, excuse me, if we just start getting content up on GitHub, we can start to rearrange and get a better sense of where we're at and everything like that. So,
and that's a good thing about what you've already done, is you've already kind of set the standard on what content would look like on GitHub. So great job on that. And yeah, then we can easily, show what this kind of process would look like and the benefit that it would provide if, we kind of do this structure versus just kind of having all these resources loosely scattered around Telegram and on social media.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll put up a Medium article that describes this and gives sort of my best take on what the different subject matters are that people can start to contribute docs to, and we'll just see what comes back and just sort of iterate from there. But I think this is a real passion of mine as far as getting things documented. I've documented my whole life in Markdown, and I've got like probably 500 or more different Markdown documents that every single time I run across any kind of technical subjects, I sort of put it in my own personal Markdown directories, but all that should be replicated at Icon, we'll get that going. Cool. How's everything else going over at Pocket Figment? I don't know if you saw that, but I got the one-click solution for the Citizen node running last night. So do you want to look at that at all, or we can sort of keep that for another meeting? What do you think?
Oh yeah, I love love the stuff that you've been doing with the one click. Right now, I don't think it's kind of walking through isn't something that I think we need to quite do right now.
Okay.
But you've actually, with all your one-click stuff, it's been really cool to see that, and especially with your last call when you were talking about infrastructure as code, definitely resonates with kind of how we're doing things here at Pocket. So Pocket Figment. So anyways, really on board with your philosophy for sure, and then actually putting work to it is really cool now that there's a bunch of tools that you've created to do one-click deployments. So, and then we look forward, and we've talked about this before, but we look forward to working with you once we get the Icon DI node ready to go. And then, having that be a one-click deployment would be really cool, where the Icon DI node and the Citizen node are both deployed with a one-click like that. If we could accomplish that, that would be just something really cool to allow the community to just be a part of the Icon community, the Icon network, without having to, really take on a whole tech side that typically goes into structuring a node infrastructure.
Yeah, it's pretty simple to use this. I had the idea of trying to teach my mom how to use my tool and see if I could get her to use it. She barely knows how to use Gmail, then I'm pretty sure I got it on the right level of complexity, So, I mean, let's see. Let's see how people adopt it and how much you can do. But it's pretty simple. That's all I can say to run, and it gets you everything. And we got the right configuration steps in there right now with Ansible running through Terraform and everything like that. That's pretty slick. It's got just one script. So. Yeah, another time. Just wanted to give you a little heads up that this stuff is on track, and definitely excited to find different ways that we can work with you guys, because the value proposition that you guys are offering with different cross communicability on different chains and the APIs, the language that you guys used in your docs, it seemed very exciting. Let's just say that. And so we're absolutely excited to think about ways we can work with you. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be cool to see once Icon gets to their interoperability. I mean, at that point, there's just so much that can happen on Icon, and then with Pocket being a second layer solution for interacting with Icon. There's so much exciting things, and so much pieces come together once we have data interoperability, which I'm just stoked for to see come about, hopefully by the end of this year.
Yeah, totally. Cool. So I don't know how much more we have. The main thing I really want to shake everybody up about is with docs. I think we pretty much nailed that, though. Is there anything else? One other thing, if you guys thought at all about having some community project management in place, has that crossed your radar at all?
Rob, can I interrupt you for something?
Yeah, absolutely. What's up, man?
Okay, I just joined like 10 minutes ago, and you guys talking back and forth, so I didn't want to interrupt it.
It's all good.
Okay, so did you guys have a key solution, like for the key store?
So right now we're copying the key store over from a local absolute path. And so if you have your key store, for instance, on a USB, that works, and it doesn't hit disk because it directly copies over from the path that you specify.
Okay.
As far as the exposed password, no. that is something that I would love to talk about, but I don't know. We're going to sort of shift gears. I mean, Shane, I don't know if you don't have to stick around in the call if we're talking about all this stuff. I mainly wanted to talk to you about the docs and everything like that, but if you want to talk about the exposed password, we can drill into that right now.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Go for it.
For exposed password, I don't see as much of a solution, because it needs to be accessed from the node, but we can protect the key store, which should be okay, in my opinion. With many encryption layer or something else, keeping it isolated.
So the main way people deal with this is through GPG keys and having a profile on Keybase, and that's industry standard right now. Now setting up GPG keys and Keybase and doing all of your data transmission end-to-end encrypted that way is not trivial. It's I mean, considering the wide different levels of technical knowledge that people have, that I'm sort of a little hesitant to suggest a solution that does require people to get a YubiKey or get GPG set up with Keybase and everything like that, and then have everything work through that. What do you think?
I mean, I use it for everything.
Yeah.
Literally,
I think you use it as well. I just don't necessarily know if that's if I think that the that it should be a solution, and it should be sort of a barrier to entry to be a main P-rep is you got to have GPG.
I mean, it's not very complicated. We can walk through the process, or can have a document for about it, so they can follow it, because it's not very complicated actually. You just set it up and just plug it when you need it.
Yeah, it depends on what platform. Let's just say this: it's complicated on WSL for Windows.
Yeah, of course it's complicated on Windows. Everything complicated on Windows, but
I know it's yeah. Let's just say that I run a separate machine just for that, because like it just, I don't know. I wasted 2 days trying to get it set up, and maybe I'll give it another shot. But I feel like if we at least sort of just say, okay, if for Linux it's not that hard for sure. And
I mean, for some reason it's just updated, and it's not accepting my keys right now, so I can't use Windows for like a month or something.
Yeah,
but even basic Chromebook can handle that process, so
yeah. I totally agree. I think that it should be a standard, because if we think about it, if we can get all the different P reps to be using GPG keys and Keybase, then the key store can be encrypted on the transmission, and then we can unseal it on the other side. And the same thing with the password, we can put an agent so that it does decrypt the password on the host machine. But really, that password, as it gets brought into the Docker Compose, should be encrypted or decrypted on the fly. So right here, you have your private password exposed. We should be able to just drop in the encrypted password right here, and then give also a Keybase identity profile so that it's able to decrypt it on the other end. But the password never is exposed in plain text anywhere.
Yes.
So that's the solution. But right now, where our hands are tied, because they ask for a private password in plain text, and there's nothing you can do to get around that.
Yeah, exactly. Right now we can't do much else. I mean,
yeah. So we're ready
for
start that.
Working on it.
Do you, if that is something that you want to evangelize a little bit more and start to take up and build docs around, definitely would be supportive of that.
I mean, we can start the documents, but without the interface, what I am evangelizing actually.
Well, I just don't.
I can evangelize the GTP keys and how to use them in general.
Yeah. So one of the things that I see that we can,
they are not widely used in general. Like you can use in GitHub, Gmail, but like most sites just don't accept it. Don't have the interface for it.
Yeah. Well, we need to build the interface. They need to build the interface over at on Icon Loop, and so potentially that would probably be something that if you I think Icon Loop is written in Python. It's probably something that we could submit a PR for ourselves to try to get it so that instead of just having the private password as a input parameter, that we have like private encrypted password and then Keybase ID or something like that underneath that, and then build in the logic to be able to opt for the encrypted password and the decryption mechanism to be able to get that in there. So we could submit a PR, and I think that no matter what, though, like the end result is going to be that's going to be, that this is eventually going to get decrypted. In the meantime, though, before that PR or improvement gets put in place, that we're stuck with this, and really, like, I'm worried about this password on a couple of different places. Like, first off, like in the current way that we deploy things, I mean, there's really no way of putting in this password and getting it onto the host machine without having that password leak onto disk at some point. It's going to leak onto, I mean, it's certainly going to be on disk, obviously on the host, but even on what we're you know, on the provisioning machine, the password should never hit disk at any point. So right now, our tooling is asking for that password. Where is it?
I mean, I consider encrypting everything in general, but like it's not viable. Like we can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, we're asking, like, our deployment right now asks for that password, and then what it does is it renders the password
And
in
yeah,
there.
put it to the Docker Compose. Yeah.
Yeah, it just does that, and that's how it runs. And this is pretty scary stuff. But that's how it is. And so there's a secret leak right now on the provisioning machine. So what we can do to get around this is you don't put in your key store password, you deploy your node, and then you just have to SSH into the box and go up and down on the Docker Compose config and just modify the key store password in place. If you never want that key store password to ever hit disk, that's sort of the only way to do it right now. Well, not hit disk on the provisioning machine. Let's just say that.
Okay, I also have some. You guys talking about community contribution and in general. Our main idea was contributing with and interconnecting with community. So we have like some type of bounty system for contributor of the icons from the community. Like it's in our proposal, but I don't know how much community aware of it.
You want me to open up the proposal?
I mean, it's not well written, so I don't think we can find it right now.
Okay. So a bounty system, that sort of gets back to what I just had open on the presentation here. Breaks down to project management, really, right?
Yeah, it can be. I don't have much time, so I just like joined 20 minutes ago. I'm sorry about that.
Oh no, we didn't really discuss this at all, so this is a good time. So the bounty system that you're suggesting would basically be that we have a number of different issues that we're starting to aggregate in a single place and starting to assign different values to those issues that different members of the community can start to pick up.
Yeah, around that.
Okay. Yeah, I support. Yeah, so at Insight, I'll just sort of give you a little bit of background on us and what we're doing. We put together a project seeds document. Where is it? I don't really need to show it. Oh, it's down here. So we put together a project seeds repo where we just have different markdown documents that describe different like things that people need to do. These are large projects that we get our fellows to do. So we have like 1,000 fellows that come through our program every single year, and they all need to do projects. And so 3 of them are doing different projects right now. So we had somebody pick up the DDoS protection, the monitoring.
Yeah, she's pacemaker there.
Yeah, the pacemaker nobody did, and then somebody picked up the Ansible security hardening. So those are the 3 projects that we picked up off of here. I don't know if this is the right place to do something like this because you can't track issues specific to, this is not a project management solution. This is more of a document to just sort of get out subjects that need attention, right? So in between like documenting the issues and everything like that, or the major projects, there's probably should be something like a like Jira or Trello or something like that we can, I mean, Trello would not be the right solution for this, but Jira would be a great solution for this. Have you worked with Jira?
No, I didn't.
You have?
No.
No. I mean, it's just project management stuff where we can track individual issues and stuff like that. So this document right here, for instance, for the security hardening or whatever, would be an issue that we could have all kinds of tasks associated with to be able to solve it, and we can have some fine-grained resolution as far as what is going on within the specific challenge, you know. Does that sound about right, or where was your head at with some of it?
I mean, our plan is like rewarding any contribution towards the icon. It doesn't matter like in
Right.
which space or how. They can even like propose something to us, which we can do, and we like to reward them because they give the idea in general.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, if we are going to do this in this as a broad service, we should at least, I think, have like 3 or 5 pre-rep group so they can access the contribution. Because like I can say this contribution costs like $2,000, but someone thinks like it's $500. It's so variable.
Yeah.
So I think like it should be like a organization formed by peer reps, and should be like at least 5, in my opinion.
At least, yeah.
Because there is no way like exactly determining how much reward some contributor going to get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's 2 different things there. There's like the whole aspect of assigning a bounty to specific projects, and then the actual tracking of the projects themselves. So there's the scoping part, which is sort of what I was doing with this. This is really just scoping and doesn't relate at all really to the actual outcome or tracking of the progress of the task itself. So we should figure out a medium ground in between all of this. I have a Jira server license that I think I can recover, that has enough seats that I can get everybody an account on Jira. I can think about doing that, or we can do Jira online, which is probably an easier option. It'll cost like $10 per user per month or something like that. Jira also works pretty well with Confluence. Have you ever heard or used Confluence?
No, I didn't.
Confluence is like a managed Wicca, and it has like a bunch of tooling in place to bring. You can have like macros that query Jira to pull down issues, and have like basically.
Yeah, I'm checking their website right now.
Yeah, it's Atlassian stuff. So I used to heavily rely on Confluence, but I don't like it. I don't want to say I don't like it anymore, but I sort of shifted to Sphinx. I don't know. We can figure this out. It doesn't matter too much, but these are all the sort of different tools that we could and put in place to sort of replicate what a larger software company would basically have to manage their own projects. And I think that project management in our case is way more challenging than most other situations. And in that case, on that same token, we need to make special efforts to do it, because really, there's teams all over the place and a whole bunch of promises about deliverables. Right now it's all promises. There's not,
Yes, it's exactly hard to do it for us, like in general, in our situation, because how we formed as a peer reps and how the community is. But I think including many tools in it can be complicated. So maybe community might not include it that much on that part.
Yeah, you are right. I mean, we definitely don't want to put a barrier in between the teams. I mean, if Jira is not necessarily easy to use, I would say it's great. I love it, but it does have a little bit of a learning curve. We need to
I was actually going to mention that about Jira. There is a learning curve to it. We actually just shifted like last week to something called Notion, which they're a newer project management platform, but they've actually, it seems like they're pretty much everything that at least we needed at Pocket. But yeah, ultimately, my gut feeling is the best thing to eventually do would be to kind of tailor create a tool that directly interfaces with kind of the icon community, and seamlessly allows P-reps and the community themselves to be a part without having to go through a platform learning, like learning a platform. And so my gut feeling is that this should actually be done as a custom tool. And and that's all stuff that I've worked on before with other projects. So, I mean, that a lot of this comes down to, once rewards start, what can we start building? And I'm very excited to see what the EEP, once EEPs launch, with being able to have ecosystem expansion proposals, and some of that could actually be used to help create things, tools that allow us to better interface with the community, and track P-reps and things of that nature.
Huh. Yeah. When you say EEP, are you talking about the IIP, like the icon infrastructure or icon improvement proposals?
I'm pretty sure they're called EEPs, but
what does that stand for?
Ecosystem Expansion Project.
Okay, this is specific to icon, right? Of course.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. I what you said really resonated about trying to create something that's simpler, and I mean, if it's customized, that could be totally warranted. But and I definitely smell you on Jira being like a little complicated, and as for initial users, don't want to do something that people need to adopt it. Number one, if it's scary and people are just, they're not going to adopt it.
Yeah, no, icon has to be approachable. So we don't want to put a barrier to entry where, you have to learn a platform before you can be a part of the PREP community or the icon community or DApp community, what have you, whatever area they're wanting to participate in. We can't have these barrier to entries. So that's why I don't think that an existing platform would make sense, because again, those existing platforms are meant to do so much more, or do so much in a different area than what icon would need. So this does need to be something that is built in-house if we want to truly be an approachable platform, where we're approachable on the tech side, which goes back to the documentation, which you're already passionate about now. Us two working together, and hopefully others, we can actually kind of streamline all this documentation stuff. But I mean, that's important to keep things approachable, and then because then the platform itself is approachable, right, on the tech side. But then on the community side, the management side, we also need to have that be approachable too. Because I mean, if we want to, I see it as we need to be a suite. Icon needs to provide a suite of for any developer or any project who wants to be a part of Icon, right? They could go and build on another platform if they want, but if they choose Icon, we have streamlined tools, we have streamlined integration to get them in front of the community, we have streamlined ways that they can manage their ICX, be a part of governance, what have you. And if it's these kind of side perks and side tools that I think are something that especially P-reps could be a part of, while the core dev team is still building out the the core
protocol,
protocol itself and network. So
I definitely agree.
I think we all are gonna have. Sorry, go ahead, Emre. Sorry.
I mean, I see the biggest issue as a documentation, because I mean, I am following the icon for a long time since and after their mainnet release, I was checking from time to time to see how their token standard is, how can I transfer or redirect a project towards icon so they can build an icon. But like when I tried to get in documents and find stuff, I mostly lost myself in them. I couldn't find what I need. This was like year ago and maybe more, and we are right now in pre-rep stage and we are near exact same situation.
Well, I mean, I think it's just on the community now to start to step up and own some of these things more. And I think all the conversations we've just had during this call are all the exact right conversations. And then it's just about sort of how we actually execute and everything. And so, you know, with the documentation, I don't like, Emre, you were a little late on the call, but like Shane and I went back and forth quite a bit about like how we see the documents starting to bubble up and everything. And so I think that we're on the right track right now with sort of thinking that like our Sphinx docs are sort of like the unofficial, more developer focused sort of docs that are doing like API documentation and whatnot and aggregating them in one place and then we have like the more official docs over at Pocket Figment and everything like that. We need to execute, and so that's what I'm going to write about in the next Medium post, is really just a call to action to get people to start to pick up different subject matters and adopt them. And so that'll happen next, really. I mean, people are going to start hearing about that this week or beginning of next. For the project management, though, Shane, can we talk a little bit more about like the custom solution? Because I had an idea about this, that like Jira really can be like an underlying database for a lot of this stuff, and the people that use it will be able to use it. But are you saying that like something like Notion is just easier to build upon? Because you started to mention like a customized solution, and I just wanted to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, all this is preliminary, so this isn't, you know, none of what I'm saying is, you know, should be taken more than a grain of salt at this point. But just at least from my experience, I from my understanding, Jira is kind of flexible, and it has a lot of developer tools. Notion does not, or I'm not too familiar with Notion's developing tools, or really Jira for that matter.
Right.
Not being a fully a developer, like I'm not a developer myself, but I do understand development, and I'm project managed development. But yeah, so if we were to choose a platform, that's why I was throwing out like Notion was one that, because Jira was so complex, we actually shifted to Notion. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not to say that Notion or Jira might have a lot more, and I believe it does have a lot more development capabilities to it. So you can customize and expand things out possibly a lot more than what you could do with Notion. But I was mainly bringing up Notion as just as an example of a platform that's out there that would be better than Jira out of the box, I would say possibly, but it doesn't have the scalability or the customization that maybe Jira would have. But all that to say, yeah, you know, I mean, I know I've been toying with some ideas, and I need to flesh things out a little more on what this would look like. But already in our roadmap, we have that, you know, this quarter, we would be releasing a recruitment tool for iconists to be able to basically broadcast their skills, you know, what can they do, what can they offer, and then P-reps can also put up job postings. So basically like a job posting microservice. And we could put that on, and it would be launched on prep.community. That would just be a way for iconists to possibly connect with P-rep teams, because they're able to see what P-reps are needing, what areas that they're open to the community to participate in, and then it would also give iconists the ability to put up the resume, to put up, you know, things about them in case a P-rep, you know, needs to go, you know, contributor shopping, right, and go and find a contributor that would meet their needs. So yeah, so we're already planning on releasing that. I've already kind of spec'd it out and looked into it, and and we can build it directly into prep.community. Right now, because rewards have been pushed back, again, that's kind of hindering our ability to, you know, take these initiatives and you know, produce them in a fast manner. So we're going to have to take a little more time to once rewards come in to be able to fully launch that. But what I'm saying is kind of with that, we've also in our roadmap for Q2 of 2020, we'd be releasing governance tools, and we haven't fully released what all that would be, but our passion would be to create governance tools that are able to be a part of, able to read the Icon blockchain using Icon DI, which we'll be releasing here later this year, and then fully launching to the community in Q1, Q2 of next year. So anyways, that's all in our roadmap. So we've already been passionate about building out these kind of tools for tracking, for management, for allowing community to participate, and for P-reps to find community members. And then, I could kind of see things like grants and things of that nature, able to create some kind of tool or some kind of workflow to allow even then grants to kind of operate on the same level, where they can submit ideas and have ways to track. And yeah, a lot of this would, some of the simpler things could be easily launched, but then some of these more complex things, like if we're trying to really create a workflow for something like project management for a grant or something, it would be more involved. But I really think that it's definitely possible, and if we actually wanted to have a number of P-reps all kind of come together to help support this kind of project, where they each take rewards to kind of submit to this project, and we have a one P-rep kind of taking project lead on executing, then I could definitely see something happen even faster than if it's just all on one P-rep trying to use their rewards or whatever to develop this whole system by themselves.
Totally. I was just thinking there's a lot of different things to sort of weigh in on this, and you're talking about having different teams having a platform that people can submit projects and be able to find people to do those projects. Emre was mentioning that, and you're starting to talk about the sort of the infrastructure necessary to be able to display that. And there's a lot of different needs for that. This is definitely a huge thing. I mean, this is something that I brought up even with Insight. Insight, we have our own internal Insight. We have our own platform where inside of it we have all of our different fellows and then links to their projects and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
So this is like, there's like 3,000 people in here or more, is 3,300. And so I was trying to propose something along the lines that we get all of, we can do the same sort of thing as, like, instead of like a directory of different fellows, but like a directory of different projects and things like that. And
yep.
So that's sort of like an internal thing that we're going to be doing. I'm going to try to see if I can get get some support for that internally at Insight. But really, like, the stuff you're talking about is stuff, I mean, this is going to interface with so many different little parts of how we manage our projects, be it sort of giving people a directory of different teams and their skills, or different directories of the work that people have done, and all of that kind of stuff, and then all the project management in between. It's a big task, and it's got a lot of different moving parts. I think we should maybe like, what I was thinking is I can put up, or anybody can, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I don't know, I'm not trying to necessarily own it or whatever, but put up a GitHub repo with some documentation just describing, like, okay, here we're considering Jira, and I can write out Jira because I'm familiar with it, and you can put out a little thing about Notion or whatever, and GitHub is obviously something that we're going to need to be interfacing with on many different levels. I think I can pretty much just say no to Trello, so that's out. But anyways, we should start scoping this big time, and we can write a Medium article about it as well to get people involved.
I will point out something about that. For example, for developers, GitHub is a very common use of case. That, like, in case of marketing for whatever another industry they are working on Icon for whatever reason, they might get alienated in the GitHub, or they are not in general familiar with it.
Yeah.
So we need to like text-based, very basic interface which shows literally everything, like sorted out, and in general shows what's going on. So everyone can easily join there, see what's going on, and contribute without getting in complicated stuff like GitHub or whatever else we are going to build.
Well, I think, you know, GitHub has a great GraphQL API that's pretty easy to use, and we can try to see if we can build some interfaces in whatever solution that we develop that is able to query different parameters on GitHub, potentially to see if we can have different things nested in GitHub so that there is that collaboration component, but then also extracted and sort of bubbled up into a view that people can easily ingest and understand.
I mean, codes can be in GitHub. It's not a problem. But like, for example, we need
The content can be,
yeah, but like for documentation and other stuff, or what we need for example, localization on several regions. And when a translator came in, like they might not familiar with GitHub and they can have issues. Like this type of stuff should be on like a plain text, like basics interface. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I think there was two things in there. Like, it's hard for me to, I don't know, maybe I'm not familiar, I don't really know, but it's hard for me to imagine a better place for the end content than GitHub, really. Because, I mean, I don't think many people are necessarily going to be submitting PRs and stuff like that to review content, but I don't know, if it's like in a Google Doc, like it's a little too mutable. I don't know, am I wrong?
Yeah, it's just bits like for not familiar people, it's complicated, not well organized, like they can't find their way in it. But yes, in general, most of the stuff should be in GitHub, but you should just have a basic way of interacting with it in a more basic interface. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like code should be on GitHub as well. Like documents should be on GitHub, yes. But we should also have them in a basic interface which people can see. And contribute maybe in their sense.
Well, and that's actually where prep.community we've already looked into that, because I mean, say it pulls a a GitHub repository of a markdown document, right? It pulls it, and then say someone wanted to contribute to it, you could actually just have a contribute button, and something similar to Google Docs would pop up where you could insert your own contribution or something, and then click submit, right? So all that can actually be done with third-party tools that already exist. A lot of it just comes down to having the time to integrate all this. So at least right now, we're a little limited on how fast we can move on this until rewards start coming in. But yeah, that kind of solution already exists, and they could still remain in GitHub, and then contributing edits could actually come from the front end, which would be prep.community.
I say we scope this. I say we start putting up some simple docs to outline the different potential solutions, and we try to sort of work up from there and build in some simple, I don't want to say like necessarily wireframe. I mean, we'll have to put it, you guys will be doing the wireframes ultimately, but maybe just some simple like flow charts and how we sort of see the different issues being raised, how they get approved, and things like that, because there's definitely going to be some data flow with respect to how things move along the different project management stages and things like that,
Yeah, to start with, I'd say keep everything dead simple.
Yeah.
With the kind of stuff that we've already talked about with GitHub, and then having prep.community kind of be a front end for it. That's all stuff we could build out now relatively easily, right?
Yeah.
And then whoever submits whatever documents, they have the ability to edit. But then we also have like you could kind of be, at least right now, kind of like a second editor as well, where we have some trusted individuals that also are kind of in charge of the docs, and they can submit changes to the owner of the doc, right, and things of that nature. So we could set up kind of some of this basic stuff. I think relatively shortly, but some of the more complex, this is a rabbit hole that we could constantly go down to refine, make better, streamline, automate. But to start off with, I'd say just working out the general use case, which is we have docs, they're in GitHub, and they can be easily accessed with a front end, on prep.community, and they're all in one place. And then we can also possibly link to Medium articles and some of that stuff. And use kind of prep.community, this front end side, to also be an aggregator of or not necessarily repositories, but also other articles, is what I'm saying. That stuff that's a decent stepping stone that I think we could focus on.
That's low hanging fruit, and that can happen today. So we'll get on that. And I guess I don't know, this meeting's running pretty long now. I don't know how much longer we need to get on this, but I think, if you guys want to put up any sort of thoughts about what you see as the project management solution, then we can start to work up from there. Because I think the docs is pretty, I don't want to say it's straightforward, but it's for the way I saw it, because I just launched a little WordPress Docker container the other day, just to quickly see what I could do. And there's like the markdown plugins are dead simple, and we can get content up there no time. It shouldn't be a problem. So let's start with there, and then that some of that content will be like scoping out a project management solution, and then that can be refined over time as we start to settle in on what that solution is.
Yeah, and that's, I think, at least myself, I wouldn't want to necessarily contribute to a scope of work right now, just because we're still very early, and we haven't even gotten to an execution stage with PREPs. So because rewards are being delayed, so there's not really an expectation of execution on a lot of these initiatives. So so I know, at least myself, I can't devote too much into trying to scope all this work out prior to us getting to a point where we're able to sustain the work itself. So so I think, at least right now, just tackling the low-hanging fruits that like, as you mentioned, these are pretty simple to start doing. Like you said, start doing today. Maybe if in a week or two we can have this, kind of this somewhat polished, UI experience for finding documentation, right, and have that launched. I think that's a great first step. And then once we hit that step, we're kind of going to be shifting and phasing. Hopefully, if nothing is delayed, we'll be phasing into the reward structure, where we can more formally start dedicating time and onboarding, talent to help kind of manage all these different tasks.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
Cool.
Really,
right.
really enjoyed this call.
Yeah,
definitely. This is a good one. To me, documentation is so critical. I'm passionate about that. So let's get this going.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Sounds good, man. Thanks for heading up and leading this meeting.
Yeah, no worries. We're going to be doing it twice a week going forward, just so everybody can join. So looking forward to seeing you guys in future meetings.
All right. Hopefully catch you next week.
Indeed. All right.
Cheers, mate.
Cool.
All right. Later, guys.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.